because this is what people paid to see, me looking at my phone. All right.
Hello! Hey. Welcome to Making the Hot Tag. We got a really special episode today.
Well,
I'm Deirdre.
The next couple. I'm Brendan.
Okay, that's Brendan in case you didn't hear that. Brendan, Deirdre. That's who we are. But you already know because you're all big fans of the show.
You've been here once or twice.
Yeah, all right. So, tell them what's special about.
So,
we had a weekend.
We did have a weekend. So, if you remember, back in February, Deirdre and I did a show where we went to Springfield, Mass. For a wrestling show for Blitzkrieg Pro.
Yes.
And, we had an episode where we basically reviewed our experience there with clips and interviews of some of the wrestlers. Mm-hmm. We didn't get as in-depth this weekend, but we did 2 shows this weekend. One on Friday.
We did.
And one on Sunday.
We saw a lot of wrestling.
A lot of good wrestling.
Yeah, so we're going to unpack it is what we're basically going to do. One show at a time. So 1 show per show. We'll talk about what we saw and what we thought of it, and you'll get to see a little bit of...
Yep, so as I mentioned, we didn't get as in-depth, but Deirdre did record a couple of clips for each match.
Yep.
So hopefully... copyright be damned. You'll see them where you normally see the matches.
Hopefully, yeah.
So,
and both of them are live streamed too.
Well, so the one on, I don't want to say my concern, but the one on Friday has yet to be streamed.
Okay.
So that may be a bit more iffy.
All right, we'll see how it all works out.
Next week's episode, everything's up for grabs.
Yeah, so they can do it and they can watch the whole.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started.
So Friday.
Let's grab our drink first.
Oh, yes.
So I made a lovely infused floral vodka with lemonade drink. It's low-fat lemonade. It's delicious.
Smells great.
Yeah, so I'm trying to lose a few pounds. So we're gonna try.
Deirdre and I get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to the gym.
We do. It's a new thing that I'm doing. It's not a new thing he's doing. It's a new thing I'm doing. So we're very excited. We had popcorn for today, but it got burned and smelly, so no popcorn.
No popcorn, just beverage.
Just beverage.
All right, so Friday, the promotion's big time wrestling.
And it was big time wrestling.
It was very big time wrestling. This was in Webster, Massachusetts.
All right, can I please start this? I just need you to know that my growing love of this kind of wrestling has a lot to do with the amateur nature of it. It's what makes me happy.
Yes.
Yeah. So driving to Webster, which is sort of East Bumfucky a little bit.
Yeah, it's right on the border of Mass and Rhode Island.
Yeah, I mean, it's lovely. It was like driving back in time through the different towns. And I was so excited to go to this because it was at the town hall. And I was like, anything that's at the town hall is going to be hilariously amateur and wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, what it boiled down to is we got to watch a lot of good wrestling. And then if we decided we could go visit the town comptroller.
Exactly. If we needed to pay our parking tickets.
Correct.
So it was a good bonus.
Yeah,
right?
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
So anyway, it's in the town hall. There's a line out the door. Perfect night.
Oh, yeah.
Like
it was
breezy, wonderful,
mid-60s.
Oh, my God.
Like Deirdre said, breezy. Yeah. It was nice to just hang out outside for a little bit.
Yeah, I couldn't ask for anything more. And then we got inside. What did we see? Well, let me walk you through it. The concession area. I smelt the popcorn before we entered.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So first we had to get our bags checked. He didn't have a bag. I had a bag. Get our bracelets, which were in manila folders for different sections.
Yeah, the ticket person had folders for every section, every row. Said my name, and she's our section. She grabbed that one. It's like, here you go.
It was both organized and bizarrely like a high school musical.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was like a high school musical, like going in the beginning part. So the concession stand, we're like, psyched. We can't wait to have a beer. No beer.
Just soda.
So soda, candy, popcorn, cheeseburgers wrapped in foil. Hot dogs wrapped in foil, right?
So it was kind of like a high school
theater.
Like
a high school theater and they were raising money. That was like a fundraiser, and they had the candy laid out. So anyway, on into the combination rec hall, ballroom, stage, theater. Yeah, with folding chairs.
I mean, these folding chairs were old.
Yes.
They were like... 5 or 6 of them were like, they were wooden and they were just together. Mm-hmm. So you couldn't like move just your chair. Mm-hmm. They were all attached.
Yeah. So, and the stage was where the wrestlers were going to come in and out of. So what was fun was during the beforehand, where everybody's just rabble, having their soda, talking. Yeah. And then wrestlers, half in their uniform, sort of like coming to work, going to do a match tonight, had to walk through us and go up on the stage and go through the curtain. It was hilarious.
Yep. I won't give the wrestlers' names away just because it'll ruin the card. Mm-hmm. But wrestlers were getting their pictures taken with fans, mm-hmm. Signing autographs, and certain wrestlers had longer lines than others.
Yeah, it was like a little mini. It was a very small town. It was like a little small town circus. My favorite part might have been that they had these elaborate chandeliers up there that require those little like pointy, fancy bulbs. Fancy and they had regular bulbs in all of them.
Possibly LED to save.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
Save energy.
Yeah, it was very funny.
It was a very unique environment.
Yes, but we had front row seats.
We did.
Which was
Section B.
Section B. We were very important.
I mean, it's... at Blitzkrieg, we were front row. There was no guardrail. We could have just walked into the ring without much hassle. But they had guardrails. They bumped up the production just a little bit.
Yeah, so it was fun. Anyway, so let's get started.
All right, so I don't remember the matches offhand, so I'm referring to my phone.
But just so we can get the order right for you.
Correct.
Guys.
So opening match was Pedro Donez. I really don't remember what he looked like. But he wrestled...
Well, they're going to see, because I've got a little clip of him entering.
Correct. So this is what he looked like. And he was facing probably the MVP of the weekend, Alec Price.
Oh, my God, Alec Price. Right?
Yeah.
So much fun.
So the prize, Alec Price. He's a stringy... You're watching him right now. Tall, stringy guy with... He's been on the show before.
Yeah, I hate his hair, but I'm growing to like him more and more. So what was great about this... was that it started everything off with a bang. Sometimes they have a little bit of a kind of a joke, silly match. Like it's because sometimes the matches are about the fighting and sometimes they're about a fun story.
Right. So as the opener, the opening match is one that you want people to get energized for.
Yes. And
that they did.
Oh my God. It was so exciting. So my favorite thing about Alec Price is he's the most acrobatic high flyer I think we've seen, maybe ever.
Yeah, I mean,
if not, he's up there.
But it's not like the Young Bucks where it's just flying all over the place just because they can. It's part of his style,
right? It's with moves.
Right.
It's
fluid. It's very fluid. I'm not saying the Bucks aren't fluid, but when he goes to the air, it's fluid with the rest of his.
Okay, so what Brendan's trying to say is that they always turn into a move.
Yes.
Right? So they're always incorporated into the fighting.
Correct.
So he's not just doing flips across to show that he can do flips across. Right? And so he's a real interesting mix of, somebody who does mostly the acrobatics and somebody who's willing to fight.
Yeah.
Because often they're sort of separated, right?
A lot of times.
It's like the acrobatics is to get out of a twist or to get,
Yep.
He's not afraid to fling his entire body on something. But I think without the high flying, you wouldn't find him believable as a victor, right?
Correct.
Or as a tough guy, because he's just too skinny and silly and goofy looking.
Yep.
Right? So when he does all of the growling and the animal stuff, you wouldn't buy it.
I mean, he looks like he would be like a computer programmer.
He looks like he got a lot of swirlies in high school.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So, with that said, Alec won. I don't remember how.
He took a beating and then came through again at the end with the growling and the... Yeah. It was something.
But remember that name for next episode.
Yeah, so it was like we just looked at each other and thought, first fight, that's amazing. So I'm going to say, in my limited experience, often the second fight is a little bit of a letdown. It's just kind of like they slide something in there. But I did not feel that way here.
Because it was a hardcore match.
It was hardcore.
So this was Mr. T.A., again, and
T.A. sucks. T.A. sucks.
And he was wrestling Triga the OG.
I don't even know what that means.
I missed his name originally when he was announced, but
so what this match looked like to me was if the Flintstones got in a wrestling match.
Yeah, kind of
like big, burly, but sort of Stone Agey.
So Mr. TA just looks like he's old without looking old. Like, you could tell that he's been wrestling for a long time.
He looks like he's old and tough.
Yes.
Like, he looks like, like the old tough guy that comes through in the end.
So, the beginning of this match, Mr. TA comes out, walks around, and then just grabs the microphone and starts talking. Like, everyone in there is supposed to know what he's talking about.
Yeah, I did.
And from out of nowhere, Trigga shows up with this, like, cookie sheet that's, like, 3 feet across and lays the biggest crack against his head. It sounded like a gunshot went off.
Yeah, so we got warned that this, what do they call that, an anything goes?
Yeah, hardcore
anything goes. So we knew stuff was going to come flying out. I've never seen, even in the stuff we've watched on, that much things to hit people with.
Weaponry?
Yeah, well, like usually it's like, okay, we take out the table, and then we take out a chair, and then we...
No, Deirdre got the garbage can full of shit.
Yes. It was a garbage can full of crap, and there was a million... I was like, what, were you making cookies before this? There were a lot of cookie pans.
Yes, there were.
Pie pans and things...
Cheese grater.
Oh,
Deirdre
that was disgusting.
Deirdre saw her first person bleed in person.
Yeah, I did, and it was gross.
It was pretty gross.
It was TA. And it was all over his face. Yep. So.
And, unfortunately, a hardcore match, there was chicanery?
I don't know what that is.
Like, the guy who came in and pushed Trigga off the top rope.
Yes. Who was that came running out and did that?
That was John Waters, who you'll see in a second.
So, there's been a lot of that in the last...
I guess Big Time Wrestling has their own storylines that they go through. So if you don't know the promotion, you miss out on it.
But you don't miss out on somebody running out from backstage
Correct.
And just slamming someone. So there was more than one incident of that during that show.
Correct.
So anyway, TA basically looked like he was getting ass beat pretty much the whole time. And the other one looked like a serial killer.
Yes.
And, And then at the very end, of course, he persevered and came out looking like a crazy person with the blood dripping from his hands on his... And, went through across the audience. Was like...
Yeah, just showing off what had happened.
Yeah. So 2 amazing, incredible matches right in a row.
Yep. So the third match actually has 2 wrestlers that we saw both Friday and Sunday. Mm-hmm. So it was Ted Goods, who has been on the show before.
He has Ted on his bum.
And tie-dye, has a belt. He has his own belt that looks like it's from Nickelodeon.
Yeah. He's very 80s colors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tie-dye.
And
led to the ring by fluorescent. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, fluorescent.
And his sidekick is Little Mean Kathleen.
Who's hilarious.
She's great.
I was hoping she was going to fight in that, but we get to see her some other time. But she was really just there to start trouble and make a fuss.
So Teddy is facing Channing Thomas, led to the ring by... Sidney Bacavella.
Oh. And was he the one wearing that awful red robe?
Channing?
Yeah.
Yes.
He came out looking like...
So I think the idea between his character is that he's like old school 80s. Like Ric Flair.
I find him awful. I hate his hair. I hate his robe. His robe, so it's one thing. Okay. I'm just going to go off on a little tear here for a moment.
Go for it.
It's one thing, and you guys are hopefully seeing this as we speak, or seeing it.
Or have seen
it.
Or
have seen it. Okay. So, it's one thing to have an elaborate either silk or velvet robe, right?
Yep.
But the length of this one and the type of velvet, it absolutely looks like it was his mom's, fancy sexy robe for when she was having sexy time, and she left it hanging in her bathroom, and he stole it. It looks like underneath you should be wearing a flimsy negligee with feathers and, the poofy, feathery stuff, tacky, right? Because it really does look like he's wearing a lady's bathrobe.
So that's Deirdre's common person explanation. I'm just going to say it was Ric Flair. So people who know if you know, you know.
And he was with the dude with the wig that I will swat off his head. I hate him.
Sidney Bacabella. No, he's you know, he's an old school 80s-esque manager. Mm-hmm. So, you know, Teddy and Channing had a good match, solid match.
That one was fun to root for. So I don't know how to explain this exactly, but some of the matches, people are more split on who they're rooting for, or you like somebody to start out and then you like somebody else. This was very clearly Ted's match.
Yes. From
the beginning. And even though the other one held his own in certain moments, we were all rooting for Teddy.
Correct.
It was fun to root for him. Not so much a high flyer, but really strong.
Yeah, he's big. There was a superplex off the top rope. You know, other big slams got everyone excited.
Yeah, a lot of noise.
Yeah. And Little Mean Kathleen did get involved.
Yep.
She pantsed Sidney.
Yes, she did. I forgot that, and knocked his wig off.
And
twirled it around, which is I'm a fan of hers for life now because I'd been dreaming about it since I first saw it. So
and so with that said, Teddy won.
Teddy won, and we were happy. So that was awesome. So far we haven't had a dud, right?
Correct.
You know.
And so this next match was for this promotion's World Heavyweight title. Mm-hmm. Their champion, Danny Miles, faced John Walters, who is accompanied by Mr. TA, who had a bandage wrapped around his head.
Right. So he came out, and he was like all wrapped up now.
Yeah.
And he's basically telling us all
the hype man for John Walters.
Yeah, who I hated, by the way.
So I knew I recognized him from somewhere.
Okay.
John Walters wrestled in a promotion that I was a big fan of back in like 2005, 2006. Ring of Honor.
Really?
Yeah. So he's been doing this for a while.
What didn't I like about him? What was unlikable about him?
He didn't have much charisma.
No, not at all. Really, like it was hard to root for him.
Right. So
all of his personality was in TA, not in.
Correct. I mean, his expression was more, I'm a good wrestler.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing. I don't need to express myself.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it on in the ring. And Danny Miles, the champion, I mean, he was fine. He's just your basic wrestler.
Yeah, so I felt like it was a good wrestling match.
Yeah.
Like, they wrestled well.
Yes.
But I felt like the sideshow stuff was more...
Correct. So Mr. TA dresses in the full singlet, or as Deirdre likes to call...
my grandmother's bathing suit.
Correct. So...
well, that's the ones that are like... I'm not talking about the ones that are really low. Like, the ones that really, they're fully in, like, an old lady's bathing suit. Yeah.
So, as Mr. TA was, walking around the ring, cheering on John Walters, he ended up standing in front of Deirdre.
He blocked my view.
Blocked her view.
We paid a lot for those seats.
Yes. And so Deirdre... in the Deirdre style, said, "You are in my way."
And get out of my grandmother's bathing suit.
And so he turned around and kind of looked at Deirdre, like, studied her for a second and said, "Do you realize how old I am?"
Yep, I have to wear this because I've got all kinds of, like,
junk
underneath.
I gotta shove all the junk in there.
Or, like, bandages or I don't know if it's all trussed up or something in there.
And it made us laugh, and then he walked away, and he was still chuckling to himself as he walked away.
Yep, and then I could see. Yeah. So he was like, "Oh, you got to root for my guy." I was like, "I'm not rooting for your guy. You guy's stinky. I don't like him."
You're stinky.
You're stinky.
So to continue from Mr. TA's match, where John Walters interfered, the other guy that TA beat came out towards the end. To gain revenge.
So little, like, crossover there. So it's like when John Walters came out, you're like, oh. Because he literally, in the other match, just came running up to the corner, did it, and ran away. And I was like, what?
Which was on the opposite side of where we were sitting, so we didn't get a chance to see what happened.
So how did that match end?
Danny Miles retained his title.
Mm-hmm. And he was very happy about it.
He was stoked.
And that was good because I was rooting for him.
Yeah,
so I didn't dislike that match at all. Yeah. I would say it's probably the weakest one.
That or the next match, which is kind of unfair.
Well, that's because I have feelings about that.
Right. Well, there's reasons behind it. So the next match was a tag match. It was a women's tag match. So it was Layla Luciano and Tiara James on one side, one team, and the other team was Kelly Madden, Madan, and Tina San Antonio.
Okay, I got a lot to unpack here.
Yes, this is yeah.
Okay, so when I watch a women's match, I'm always looking to see if they're coming out looking like it's going to be a TNA match, which is basically just a fancy prance around the ring and a few flips to entertain people, or if they're going to be real wrestlers. They walked out looking like a TNA match, for sure.
Correct.
Like, three of them were incredibly beautiful and sexy. One of them was an Amazon and was, like, attractive in her own way, but not the same kind of, like, I mean, I would have wanted to look like any three of these girls, like and Brendan would have liked to have dated any three of these girls.
Like, runway model.
Yeah, like beautiful, right? And dressed in super sexy outfits with half their bums out, which made me just want to spank them. Anyway, so that starts, right? And I'm like, okay. I will say it turns out they were also good wrestlers, except for one. So the Tina and whatever her name was, team.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Tina was good.
And her partner, Kelly.
Kelly did nothing, really. Yeah. Kelly did nothing except yell stuff and swing her booty around.
I mean, if the match was 9 minutes long, Kelly wrestled for 30 seconds.
If that. Yeah. So, and her partner was particularly good.
Yeah.
On the other side, the Amazon was the one that was particularly good, although her partner.
Yeah, they were both solid. Yeah, it was good. Solid. It was good, solid wrestling.
Right. So here's where the problem comes out.
And so if you remember the Blitzkrieg show, it kind of goes on the same.
So they come out looking beautiful and sexy, and the first thing that happens is the largest man in the audience, and I don't want to make fun of weight, but the largest man in the audience wearing a red leather cage on its face starts yelling for them to set up in his corner.
Right.
So, and then his little group, I don't know who said what, but was like, yum, yum, and shake that. And so I'm disgusted by that because they can actually wrestle. And yes, they are beautiful, but they're wrestling. And then behind us was a group of men who, but one man, and especially, I heard it from more than one, but one was really belligerent about it. Kept yelling, punch her in the face. Show her you mean it. Punch her in the face. Show us this is real. Punch her in the face. Punch her hard. There was like all of this crazy, obviously incel anger towards women. So I have discovered in my four matches that I've gone in person that while most people are there for the right reason and having fun, there is a group of men, and I will call them incels. They're clearly never have got laid in their life, never going to get laid in their life, hate women.
They're uncomfortable with the fact that women can be good wrestlers.
Right. And they are so vile and abusive and sexist and misogynistic. It's different when we're watching it on the screen because I can't hear anything that specific. Right. And so I can just see the wrestling. So now I get nervous. And actually the guy yelling behind me, all kidding aside, made me afraid as a woman. Like, I got like...
So, I had another friend who was there too, and I was sitting in between Deirdre and my other friend, and there was a drastic shift in atmosphere at that match.
Yeah, and your friend was tiny. Yeah. Like, tiny and... I'm not big in stature, and she's tiny in stature. And, we get afraid sometimes. And I definitely felt to that. So I do wish that would go away.
It's tough. And that's the downside of the smaller venues, in Webster, Massachusetts.
Right.
Not saying that these people are from Webster and they represent the town, but...
no, but there's maybe less security and sort of things in place to stop that. Right.
I mean, the show we went to Sunday last night, it was a better environment for the women.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So anyway, that was a downside. The match itself, the Amazon was incredible.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name.
I think that was the Luciano one.
She was incredible.
Layla Luciano, I think, was the Amazon.
And what was her partner's name?
Tiara James.
Tiara was, I think, the most beautiful.
Yeah.
She was gorgeous. And she also was incredible. And as I said, the other side had one good wrestler. But
I'm guessing that the other one is still learning. Like, she had the least amount of experience.
Yeah, she didn't, and she didn't look like she knew what to do in the
She
the
could
ring.
do the basics, but I think that's all they let her do.
Yeah. And the other three were all solid. So I would say the match itself, quite good. The people who I expected to win won. Although Tina, if she'd been paired with anybody else, you might have thought she was going to win because she was tough as nails.
Yeah, she at wrestling wise, out of the three, she was the best.
Yeah, she was, and the toughest. I don't know. I think Amazon was a better wrestler, moves wise. Okay. I thought Tina was meaner.
Okay,
do you know what I mean? Like
I guess
more
in overall, like the overall gestalt of wrestling, I think Tina had more
certainly
complete
close. Yeah, certainly close. Good match. Other than reminding me that sometimes men suck.
All right, so I don't need my phone for the next two matches because they're the big ones. So first, the semi-main event, I guess you could say, is a show, someone we've seen several times on the show, Penta, the luchador skeleton, took on PCO.
Oh my God, this match! So I'm sure you can see they were raring to go.
Oh yeah. So I didn't get a chance to go over PCO with Deirdre, but he was a former WWF wrestler.
Mm-hmm. That doesn't surprise me at all.
No, he's as you can tell, he's massive.
Yes.
But he was out of the wrestling scene for a while. He may have had a school or something, but he was out of the picture for a while. Maybe a year and a half before the pandemic, he came back.
Ooh.
And his character's basically Frankenstein.
Yes.
He's like a monster. And that was his whole thing, is he came back to life and started being a huge draw in independent wrestling.
He looked terrifying.
He made a lot of money before the pandemic just because he's a monster, and he just took he as you can see his match with Penta, they just kicked the shit out of each other.
Right, and if you look at it, what I think about this match, well, first of all, take a look at him. He's terrifying looking. He's so scary. But this, to me, is a fight of might against agility.
Yep.
Right? It's I know it's his character, but just sort of I pick things up, I put them, boom, 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 right? And
right, no, that's what, and Penta,
Penta can twirl and flip out of the way.
So I don't want to say David versus Goliath, because I wouldn't consider Penta.
No, he's not quite David-ish, but it definitely was agility against might.
Right, it was, how do I take this guy down?
Yes.
And so they went to the outside very quickly. There was a lot of fighting along the outside, which, we know is a favorite of Deirdre, with the caveat that Penta was dumped onto Deirdre's lap.
I could have done a little bouncy bounce. I mean, full butt in the lap, my arms around his waist.
Yep.
There he was.
If you watch it on Fight TV, whenever it gets released, there's going to be a spot where Penta gets thrown into the audience.
He bumped into us a few times first. We definitely got the whole they're in their airspace.
Penta was head over feet in Deirdre's lap, and his feet was dangling over my head.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun, and they were actually fighting in the people that were sitting next to us, and broke their chair.
Which is okay, because he was a cheater, pumpkin eater, and he had tickets for the second row.
Correct.
And he snuck up to the front row. Correct. So Karma said, break your chair.
Spoiler alert.
Just saying.
After an insane match, Penta won.
Oh my God. I was spent.
Yep. So as Deirdre, as we've been doing this for almost 2 years at this point, this was the match where I could see Deirdre leaning in, oh my God, how's this going to happen? Who's going to win? And it was the happiest that I've seen. It was the happiest I've been seeing Deirdre watch wrestling, just because I could tell
I'm getting better at yelling too.
Yes, she's a fan.
I don't always know what we're yelling, but
Right. Well, on Sunday there was a lot of chants.
There was a lot I didn't know.
There was a lot of chanting.
I could follow most of the stuff in Webster, but even so, I'd have to be like, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
You know, and he'd have to tell me. But I've become a champion booer. And yayer and chanting people's names, and I'm actually, oh my God, forgive me for saying this. I'm actually starting to have like people I'm rooting for that I recognize.
Yeah.
And it's weird.
Yeah.
Who knew?
Who knew watching wrestling for...
So we're gonna have to change the show because the whole show is about you knowing everything and me knowing nothing. If I start to know shit, I mean,
right.
We're gonna have to dumb it down. I'll have to be drunker. Okay. Continue.
All right, so now we're at
but wait, can they see how cool he is? Like, just make sure there's something super flippy here, because...
Well, I can only use what you said, mate.
I hope I wasn't too drunk to take shit. I wasn't,
well,
because there was only soda.
So, alcohol.
All
right, so the main events.
Yes.
The main reason why it was as packed as it was. Mm-hmm. So, on one team, we had Brock Anderson.
Yep.
And Brian Pillman Jr.
How would you describe them each in one word? Brock?
Brock Will Ferrell.
Oh my God. So give me credit for that, please.
So that was all Deirdre. So Brock Anderson looks like
Will Ferrell. Walks like him, moves like him. Really
and
weird.
So Brian Pillman Jr., I mean, if you watch AEW, you know who he is, but for those uninitiated, he has probably the most featherist, prettiest mullet you'll ever see.
Oh my God, it is a mullet to end all mullets.
And they were accompanied...
It's party in the front and party in the back.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And they were led to the ring by Arn Anderson, who is one of the better wrestlers who've ever walked the earth. Their opponents...
There were people doing that.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Their opponents... super popular AEW tag team, former WWF tag team FTR.
Oh, love FTR.
Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler.
They're just fun to root for. Go Dax, go Cash.
Yep.
And they have it on their butts in case you forget.
Because
I sometimes forget. So with their get him Dax, get him Cash. It's really fun.
And they were led to the ring by Bret the Hitman Hart.
Okay, so everybody was super emotional about Bret. And
so, for, I guess, quick reason as to why this all happened, over like the last year or so, FTR, on Twitter and even on AEW will reference Bret.
Yeah, they love him.
Wear his shirts. Dax himself did a singles match in AEW where they did a lot of moves that Bret Hart did. So they're huge fans. They're legitimately big fans of Bret Hart.
Dex especially.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So I feel like I'm going to be a wet noodle right here. Wet towel.
Go for it.
Okay.
Do what you need to do.
So super happy that he got to get those accolades because clearly he was well loved. I got the same feeling with him that I got sort of at the end of Dick Clark's career with the
ball dropping.
Yes.
I'm just here.
Yeah, I felt like he. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to honoring people and what's the word I'm looking for? Not taking advantage.
Pay respect?
No, like when you sort of humiliate somebody unintentionally, like you're I don't know, like taking advantage of his situation.
Sure.
Do you know what I mean? Like taking advantage or like making money off of somebody who doesn't even know necessarily what you're doing. And I don't know where the line is with him because I'd have to see him more.
Right.
But between him not knowing where to go and then having him sit in that weird spot on the ring.
Right. So Bret health-wise, I guess he's not doing well because he was sitting for like the first half in FTR's corner. He stood up towards the end But
then they were honoring him, and he didn't know when he was trying to leave the ring,
right.
And they were trying. Then he was sitting on the edge of the ring, like
right.
it all. And
I think him getting in the ring hurts.
Yes.
So I think he had to spend his energy wisely.
But didn't you feel like he was blank behind the eyes?
Yes.
Whereas the other guy, equally older and famous,
Arn Anderson?
yeah, was definitely with it.
Right, yeah.
So he felt a little propped up to me.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, like, are you honoring them or are you taking advantage of them when you do that? Just food for thought.
I mean, in FTR's mind, they were honoring him.
Oh, of course.
In their eyes.
No, of course. I mean, and Dax was so happy to have him in the... Like, nobody was trying to be mean. Right. I guess I'm just throwing that out there as an outsider looking in.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
You know, I don't... And I'm not saying I know where the line is. I don't know where the line is. You know?
Right. Well, I mean...
You know, like Liza Minnelli in the awards. Like, how much do we prop someone up?
Right. Well, you know, Bret knows his limit. He could have just said no.
Maybe.
Right.
Maybe. It depends on how... I mean, you've got to assume that some of these old-time wrestlers suffer from the same type of concussion-induced brain damage that football... I mean, it is full-on brain damage. So it's entirely possible that he has somebody who just takes him and tells him what he's doing.
I mean, Bret even more so. He had to retire because he got severe concussion by getting kicked in the head.
Yeah, so it was very clear to me that was happening. So a little piece of me was just like, what I was hoping is that he was moved and honored and not confused and startled. Right. Do you know what I mean?
So in that regard, the promotion, I found this out, the promotion after tweeted Dax and Bret doing a shot of tequila backstage after the event. So take that as you will.
I'll hang on to that. Like I said, I'm not... I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's...
But let's get back to the fight.
Yes. It was crazy good.
Crazy good.
I mean, the fans were on their feet pretty much 80% of the match. We were...
And I make a big deal about what I can see happening when I see somebody jump into a move or...
Yep.
And I will say, this is a new sort of discovery, not that I didn't know it was happening, but, you know, once you see something, it's hard for you to not see it from then on. So what I saw a lot in the last 2 shows was people stamping the ground to make the sound of somebody falling or whatever, right? Like faking the sound of a fall.
Yep.
And it was like, once I saw it, I couldn't stop seeing it, right?
Okay.
So having said that, some of the matches we watched, mostly the later matches, I was amazed at how much actual fighting I saw, even though I know the outcome's choreographed and there are certain moves that are choreographed. You can see them like tap or move like to warn them that this is what we're doing next. But Dax and Cash everybody was dripping in sweat. People were definitely hurt a little bit. Like that was the closest thing to a real rumble.
Oh yeah, between the last 2 matches.
Yeah.
I mean, Penta and PCO were slapping each other for 5 minutes straight.
Yeah. I mean, there was some real fighting, and even the stuff that was orchestrated still involved significant risk and pain, and impact on the part of the other people. And I think never more so than in that last.
Yep. I mean, FTR is considered the best tag team out there right now, and I think you could see why.
Now, if we could just get Dax to stop looking like Freddie Mercury. It feels like a choice, maybe, and...
he loves that mustache.
Oh, that mustache. That is a mustache. And I'm not a fan.
Fair enough.
All right, so what is your takeaway from that amazing night of wrestling?
It was well worth the price of the 2 front row seats. Totally glad I went. And it could have been just the last 2 matches and I would have felt
like
happy.
Your money's worth, yeah.
But the whole card from top to bottom was a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of people we've seen before on the show were there. So I'm glad you were able to see them in person.
In person, yeah. I think for me, it was amazing to me how much I liked every fight.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? Like I said, the third one, I guess, was probably my least favorite.
Channing Thomas.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I didn't participate in it and enjoy it. It just, to me, was reflectively not as exciting. But I didn't, like, when I was watching it, I wasn't like, oh, this one's kind of lame, which I'll admit I've done in the other shows we've seen. Not to all of them, but there's always like one or two that you're like, okay, this is where you go to the bathroom or get a drink or whatever. And it feels like they actually put them in there on purpose to allow you a breather. Right?
And you can tell what matches are the bathroom break matches.
Right. And I will say it's funny. I'm having an epiphany. So this one had fewer on the card than some of the other ones we've seen, right?
Seven matches?
Yeah. And I feel like it had fewer on the card, and that I could be just making this up, because you couldn't have handled much more.
Yeah.
Like, because they were all intense and good, and you got no real breaks.
Right. Everyone got good time in the ring. There was no intermission. It was just bam, 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 bam.
And the fighting was at a high level.
Correct.
Like, you'll see when we talk about the one next show, I mean, there definitely was some amazing matches, but there were also some that were for entertainment. And I'm not saying, there's a difference to me between a match that's kind of lame and a match that's there to tell a silly little story. And it's just to entertain you and show, how it's like a show. It's choreographed. It's fun, but it's not, fighting. And this one was all fighting, all good fighting.
Yeah.
And at the end, you were like, oh, my God.
Yep. No, so they recorded it for Fight TV. It wasn't streamed live. So if you watch this, keep an eye out for when it gets released on Fight TV, because it's
worth it. Oh, my God, so worth it.
It's going to be worth the cost.
Yeah, worth it. Pay for it, whatever it is. Okay. Well, that was fun. And cheers to a wonderful time that we had in Webster Town Hall on a Friday night.
Yeah.
Because we're cool.
To be continued.